Hey everyone, and welcome. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for this explainer. Today, we're diving into a masterclass that's honestly going to completely change how you view the physical world around you. We're going to pull back the curtain on the universe and look at the invisible building blocks that make up, well, absolutely everything. So buckle up, because by the end of this session, you're going to see your everyday life through a completely different, totally fascinating lens. Let's kick things off with a simple question. Have you done chemistry today? Now, your immediate thought might be, no way. I'm not wearing a white lab coat, and I definitely haven't been mixing bubbling, colorful liquids in glass beakers. But, I really want to challenge that assumption right out of the gate. Because the truth is, you're essentially a walking, talking chemist every single morning. Think about it. When you jump in the shower, the soaps and shampoos you're using, they contain chemicals specifically designed to interact with and pull oils from your skin and hair. Brushing your teeth, you're using mild abrasives and fluoride to chemically protect your enamel. Even if you just fried an egg for breakfast, you literally applied heat to cause a chemical reaction that transformed those proteins. And here's a real mind-blowing fact for you. If you happen to be holding a smartphone right now, you're holding a device that relies on roughly 30% of all the natural elements found on Earth. Chemistry is quite literally everywhere. So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll cover the 4 states of matter. Second, mass, weight, and conservation. Third, atoms and molecules. And finally, classifying types of matter. All right, let's jump straight into section 1, the 4 states of matter, the physical forms of our universe. So first things first, what actually is matter? Honestly, the definition is beautifully simple. Matter is just anything that occupies space and has mass. That's it. This applies to the screen you're looking at, the chair you're sitting on, and even the invisible air inflating a birthday balloon. If it takes up space and has mass, it is matter. Now, matter shows up in a few fascinating ways, and you're probably super familiar with the first 3. We've got solids, which are rigid with a definite shape, like ice. We've got liquids that flow and take the shape of whatever container they're in, like water. And gases, which take both the shape and the volume of their container, like steam. But I really want to draw your attention to the 4th state, plasma. Now, plasma is a gaseous state packed with a massive number of electrically charged particles. I know, it sounds straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it occurs naturally inside stars, and even right here on Earth during high-temperature events like a lightning strike. How cool is that? Moving right along to section 2, mass, weight, and conservation, the unbreakable rules of matter. Okay, we really need to clear something up here, because people mix these terms up all the time in everyday life, but to a chemist, mass and weight are very different things. Mass is the actual amount of matter in an object. It's a constant. Weight, on the other hand, is the force that gravity exerts on that object. To put that into perspective, think of an astronaut. When she travels to the moon, her mass, the physical amount of her, stays the exact same. But because the moon's gravity is only 1/6 of the Earth's, her weight drops to 1/6. She feels incredibly light, but she hasn't actually lost any mass. Make sense? And that perfectly sets us up for the absolute ultimate rule of the universe, the law of conservation of matter. It officially states that there is no detectable change in the total quantity of matter present when matter converts from one type to another. In plain English, matter is never truly created or destroyed, it's merely transformed. It is basically the universe's ultimate recycling program. To see this playing out in the real world, just look under the hood of your car. In a lead-acid car battery, it looks like electricity is just, magically happening out of nowhere. But chemically speaking, the exact mass of the original lead and sulfuric acid is perfectly equal to the mass of the newly formed lead sulfate and water after the reaction. Nothing is lost. The exact same rule applies to brewing beer. The mass of the sugar you put in perfectly matches the mass of the alcohol and carbonation produced. Every single tiny particle is accounted for. Which brings us to section 3, atoms and molecules explained. We're zooming way, way down into the microscopic realm now. This is where we officially meet the atom. An atom is the absolute smallest particle of an element that still has the properties of that element. The word itself comes from the Greek atomos, meaning indivisible. Imagine taking a gold nugget and cutting it in half. Then you cut that half in half again. If you kept doing this with, say, an unimaginably tiny magical knife, you'd eventually reach a single, minimally sized piece of gold. That is an atom. Try to divide it any further, and boom, it's no longer gold. Now, grasping the actual size of an atom is ridiculously hard because our brains just aren't wired for things this tiny. But try this. Think about a single thread of a spider web. It's so thin it's almost invisible, right? Well, if a single carbon atom were blown up to the size of a dime, the cross-section of that one tiny spiderweb strand would be wider than an entire football field. That is the mind-boggling scale we're dealing with here.
And they aren't just tiny, they are impossibly light. Look at this massive number, 300 trillion. If you somehow gathered 300 trillion lead atoms all together in one spot, they would weigh a mere 0.0000001 gram. I mean, you couldn't even register that on the world's most sensitive scales.
But here's the thing. Atoms rarely like to fly solo. Most of the time, they link up. A molecule is what you get when two or more atoms join together by strong forces called chemical bonds. Think of it like this. If atoms are individual keys, a molecule is the whole key chain hooked together. Two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom link up to form a water molecule. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen link up in a very specific pattern to form glucose, the sugar that actually powers your cells. To brilliantly illustrate the scale of these molecules, let's use another analogy. Even when bonded together, they're incredibly small. If an ordinary glass of water were magically enlarged to the size of the entire Earth, the individual water molecules inside that glass would be roughly the size of golf balls. It really puts into perspective just how many molecules you're swallowing in a single gulp of water.
All right, home stretch. Section 4, classifying types of matter. How chemists sort the universe.
At the highest level, we have pure substances, which break down into elements and compounds. Elements are the purest of the pure. They literally cannot be broken down any further. Think gold or oxygen. Compounds, on the flip side, are pure substances made of two or more elements chemically combined. And the totally fascinating thing about compounds is how their properties change completely when they mix. Like, sodium is a soft, shiny metal. Chlorine is a yellowish-green, highly reactive gas. But combine them chemically, you get sodium chloride, the completely normal, perfectly safe table salt you sprinkle on your French fries. Wild, right? Now, while there are over 100 known elements out there, nature definitely plays favorites. Just a handful of elements make up the vast majority of our world. In fact, just 11 elements make up a whopping 99% of the Earth's crust and atmosphere, with oxygen and silicon taking a massive lead. Of course, most things around us aren't perfectly pure substances, they're mixtures. And chemists divide these into two main types, heterogeneous and homogeneous. A heterogeneous mixture varies from point to point. Think of Italian salad dressing. One spoonful might be mostly oil, the next might have way more vinegar and herbs. A homogeneous mixture, however, is perfectly uniform throughout. A sports drink is a great example of this. Once it's all mixed up, every single sip tastes exactly the same, because there's a uniform distribution of water, sugar, and electrolytes. Okay, pop quiz time. Let's see if you've been paying attention. Imagine you scoop up a glass of muddy water straight out of a puddle. Is that muddy water a pure substance, a homogeneous mixture, or a heterogeneous mixture? Take a second, think about the definitions we literally just covered. Got your guess? If you said heterogeneous mixture, you are absolutely right. Awesome job. Muddy water isn't a pure substance because it's obviously a mix of multiple things. And it's not homogeneous because the dirt and mud aren't perfectly uniformly dissolved at the atomic level. The dirt settles over time, meaning a drop from the top of the glass is going to be completely different from a muddy drop at the bottom. Well, we have covered incredible ground today, from the macro forces of gravity all the way down to the tiny, golf ball-sized molecules that build our universe. So I want to leave you with this thought. Look around you right now. Look at your desk, your cup of coffee, even the air you're breathing. What invisible chemical reactions, what microscopic, spiderweb-sized structures are you taking for granted at this very second? The universe is a remarkably complex and beautiful place when you finally know how to look at it. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. And hey, keep